On this episode of Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery, I'm going to talk about how to become a financial planning authority in your market.
Running a successful fee-based financial planning business is tough, and escaping the shackles of a commission-based financial planning practice is terrifying. When all you want to do is learn from those who know, learn from financial planners who are there on the front lines doing it each and every day. What if you could just open their kimono and take a look inside to learn what works and what doesn't? Now there's a place where the secrets to running a fee-based financial planning business are revealed to those who believe. Fee-based financial planning mastery. Ease your mind.
Hi everyone, it's Scott Plaskett here, and thanks for joining me. In this podcast, you will learn what's working and what's not in the world of fee-based financial planning. In each episode, I'm going to open my kimono and let you take an insider's look at what's working and what's not in my practice to help you take your business to the next level. I've been a fee-based certified financial planner since the early 90s, so believe me, I know the challenges you're facing. So get ready to learn not from a teacher, coach, or guru, but from a colleague who's on the front lines just like you. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my email internet newsletter to get the most up-to-date tips on how to build and grow your fee-based financial planning practice by going to feebasedfinancialplanningmastery.com. Well, I want to talk about what's new with me. Well, I had to do something that I didn't want to do. But since I had to do it, I did it. And it's proving to be a very frustrating experience. So what did I do? I changed my domain URL and web host. I created, my financial planning website, www.ironshield.ca, a while ago. Got into blogging and created the Key to Retirement blog. And so I hosted it at the Key to Retirement or keytoretirement.ca. Now, I got really sick of paying high-priced web designers every time I wanted to make a change to my site. So I hired a virtual assistant and had them basically replicate my site on a WordPress site, just like I've been telling everybody to do here. They did this, and then I repointed my www.ironshield.ca URL to my new site on my new host. All along, I've been tracking my site stats using Google Analytics. Again, everything I've done here, this is what I'm telling you to do. However, I'm going to be cautioning you about one thing. So there's good news and there's bad news. And basically, I'm telling you this because I just want to make sure you're making the best decisions when it comes to your website from the outset. If you haven't started a website, very simple. Follow my steps. Go to the resources page or the toolbox on the Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery website. Click on the web host. Sign up for an account. Do the 5-minute click for the install for the WordPress site, and just get that set up and go to the links for the WordPress premium themes, pay $50, $70, $100, whatever it is to get the WordPress premium theme, they got tons to choose from and it just simply works. But if you have an existing website, you need to be aware of some of these changes, some of these things that took place for me that I didn't know were going to happen necessarily. I had no choice, and at the end of the day, I was tracking things, and I just couldn't understand what was going on. Well, basically, what I found out was that when you're moving your content or shifting from an old domain to a new domain, there's things happen to your rankings, because what basically happens is we'll use Google as the search engine in this example. Google has these things called spiders, and what they do is they run around the internet and they basically index the internet. They do everything they can to sort of index what's going on in the internet. So if they find your website, they check it out. There's certain things that they do. They index it, and then they say, "Great, now I've got a piece of resource that I can turn to when people are searching for relevant terms on this page. Then I can basically bring this up, and if it's highly relevant, which is what we want everything to be in Google. If it's a highly relevant page, then it'll show up on the first page of Google, and everything's great." But what I did when I changed over my domain is I basically cut a lot of the URL or the indexing that had taken place. So what I was told was that I can expect a 3 to 6 month delay before the content, the rankings that I previously had are re-achieved at Google. Now, it happens a little bit quicker from what I understand with Yahoo and MSN and whatnot. But basically what happened was now it's not starting from scratch because the content's all there. But what happens is it takes some time for the spiders to run back out and re-index things because, they're probably set up, or I think they're set up so that if they know that they've indexed something once, well, there's no reason to go back to it. So if you just happen to change things, then it takes a while for it to go back. And so the indexing basically just needs to be refreshed, so to speak, and that's what I'm experiencing now. So what I ended up seeing was all of a sudden I could see that my traffic was it was just dropping, and I couldn't understand why. And we were looking into everything, we're trying to figure it all out. And what was happening was basically that when I changed things from the old website to the new one, because basically I had my original site that I spent a lot of money on, and I highly do not recommend that you spend a lot of money on your site because there's no need to. But I spent a lot of money. This was before I really had the knowledge that I do now when it comes to the website. I spent a lot of money on the site. And it really looked great. I mean, I got a lot of comments on it. Clients liked it, and it was really great. But then I stumbled across WordPress, and I realized how functional WordPress was and how easy it was to use. And I thought, wow, this is the solution for me because now I could do all the changes. I could do all the updates. Anytime I needed to post something, I could do it. It was just so much more flexible, and it was highly optimized for use with Google. So I went ahead and did that. But what I did was I didn't know how to, I'm not a web coder or a web designer, so I didn't know how to migrate my old site onto a WordPress platform. So all I did was I created a new site for my blog. And in creating that site, gave me everything I needed. It gave me the blog. I could link to it, and I could basically just link the blog button on my old site, and it just basically pointed to a new site, and people thought they were in the blog or went to the blog, and they thought they were in the same site, and it worked out pretty well. But then when I migrated everything over, so remember, I've got my main site on host 1, and this was basically a host that was set up by the web designer, so they had total control over it. They were charging me astronomical rates to redo the hosting on it and pay for the hosting every year. And anytime I wanted to make a change, it was just costing me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars every time I even picked up the phone or communicated with them. So when I created my blog, I called my blog Key to Retirement, and so I created a new URL, and everything was great. And then it just carried on working. But then when I changed it over, I said, okay, I've got the new site. I hired a virtual assistant who specialized in web design or web coding. I said, look, here's my old site. Make it look exactly the same on a WordPress site. So they did. They did exactly that. And then I said, okay, now that it looks exactly the same, I have no need for my old site. So I activated the new one, pointed my domain to the new host, and I thought that was all we needed to do, and it was great. Then all of a sudden, that's when I started to see the traffic start to just drop off. Well, I do appreciate that it will come back because the site is fully loaded with all of my content, and so it'll get re-indexed and I'll get the rankings that I once had, but it takes some time, and so all of a sudden we're seeing a bit of a drop in our traffic, and that's no fun. It's I'm not really happy about that. But it's been happening for about a month now. What I am starting to see now is things are leveling off because I think the indexing is taking over again, and it's starting to happen. So we're starting to see our traffic come up, and we're beating where we were last month. And so it's all good. So anyways, it just takes some time, but I just wanted to caution people that, don't be surprised if, or as a bit of a lull, if you have a site, an existing site that you just want to take more control of, and you migrate it over to the Bluehost recommendation that I have and host it on the server that I recommend and that I'm using, and it's fantastic. It's inexpensive. It's unlimited domains. You can just do everything on it. Don't be surprised if things start to drop off a bit. So that's my message to you. If you're starting from scratch, again, I understand just from the research that I've done that you can expect about 20 to 40 days for the indexing to fully take place with Google. So if you create your site, don't expect instant results. You do have probably about a month or so before you're going to start to really see some traction. But once that's happened, and then it knows about the site and it keeps on coming back to it, it's going to keep coming back because you're going to have new content on a regular basis. And then when you get that, then it's just going to start, and you'll see the traffic just spike. And if you don't have Google Analytics running on your site, you definitely want to do that. Just sign up for a free Google account. Once you've got that, then you can go to just Google the term Google Analytics. And then there's some code that you generate. You basically say, here's my website. This is the URL. It generates the code for you. You paste it on the site, and then it's all live. And you can pretty much see that happen instantaneously. And then you can track all the traffic that comes to your site, where it's coming from, the keywords that are bringing it to you. And then there's a whole process that you go from there to start developing content that people really want to hear about. So we can talk about that in a later episode. But for this episode, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of what does happen in reality when you do change your URL. So spend some time, focus on your initial URL, make sure you don't change it. And if you do want to add another URL, then basically just point it to your old one, because you don't want to go through the lull that I went through. And that's about it. So be aware of that, but definitely get out there. If you don't have your website, just get out there, get your hosting account, get the WordPress install. It takes literally 5 minutes, even less than 5 minutes now, to get it all set up. If you have to, just give them a call. They'll set it up for you, and then go to the WordPress premium themes, find a couple themes that you like, throw them on, and just start adding content, and then you can go from there. So it's easy, it's inexpensive. You don't need to spend a lot of money on your website to get a fantastic, high-quality looking site. My site, as I said in previous episodes, I think it cost me all of maybe $400 about maybe $800 in order to get the customization look, because I had to match it to my old site. But now it costs me literally, I think it's $100 a year, and that's it. So very inexpensive, does a great thing for our business. It allows all the tools to get integrated, the email nurturing and the email capturing and all that sort of stuff. It just works like a charm. So check it out. You're going to be glad you did.
And now for our feature segment.
So how to become a financial planning authority in your market. This isn't as difficult as you think. Have you ever wondered why some people are perceived as a market leader or market authority? The one thing that I know is that it didn't just happen for them. It was planned. It was orchestrated. They did specific things to make it happen. And now with the internet, the ability to become an authority in your market is so easy. It's easier than it's ever been. So let's go through the steps that can take you time to become, that you can take to become more of an authority in your market. Because, to do this, it's very easy to do. And, when you can build this instant credibility, when people just say, oh yeah, no, I've heard your piece, or I read your book, or I read your blog, or I've whatever it may be, it's amazing how quickly that instant authority just elevates you above all of your competition. So I've talked about this in the past, that you need to choose your target market. Whenever you're putting marketing together, you need to choose your target market. Now, and I've talked about this as well, that you don't need to choose it for your whole business. I talked about in the past where I was always so frustrated and just always got angry that I couldn't find my niche. Everybody said, oh, you need your niche. Well, I couldn't find my niche. I didn't know exactly what my niche was. Every time I did everything I was supposed to do to find my niche, it never presented itself to me. But what I did find was that I now know what markets I want to work with, and so I just create marketing campaigns around those markets. So let's assume that you now know the market you want to become authority in. If you follow these steps, you'll definitely begin to see your status elevate in a very short period of time, which at the end of the day is good for the business and will help you solve a lot of the challenges you may be currently having when it comes to positioning yourself as a fee-based financial planner. Because, this business is not easy. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. And when you position yourself as a fee-based financial planner, it's definitely not easy. It's not something that you can just wake up and do one day. So you do have to get all the cards, all of the everything stacked in your favor. And so, this is one of the things that will allow you to do that. So, steps to becoming an expert or an authority in your market. Well, the first step is you want to publish. It's all about publishing. Publish. Now, don't let this first step scare you off. It's easier than you might think. You need to be seen in your target market as someone who knows the issues and concerns of that market when it comes to financial planning. You need to be seen to be the only one who truly understands the frustrations and challenges this market has when it comes to financial planning and all that financial planning represents. Now, I didn't just say that you had to publish a book what I'm basically saying is that you need to be seen as a publisher of great content directly related to your market. So publishing is not about necessarily writing. It's not all about writing that book. Everybody apparently has a book in them, and I think everybody does have a book in them. But trying to get that book out is very, very difficult. Well, now, if the internet now is our tool, the internet is that saving grace that allows us to get our message out there. If we wanted to publish a book, it's so easy. It can be done very, very quickly. But it at least gives us the medium that we can get our information out there without having to go through all these expensive channels. You have a lot of options when it comes to self-publishing, when it comes to the internet. You can self-publish your own book, but it can take a lot of time and work to do that. But you can also publish a blog. Yeah, now we're talking. I mean, this is easy to do, doesn't take a lot of time and effort, and it can be done on a consistent basis, and you can just keep on building it and building it and building it. You can publish a podcast. Some people don't like writing. I don't love to write. I love to talk. And so when it comes to my preference, I just happen to prefer podcasting, and it's a great, simple way that allows me to get my message out there. You can publish a special report. I mean, again, I've talked about this in the past. Find a frustration that your target market is facing, and then write a report that basically solves that frustration, and how by working with you or working with people, financial planning can also be that the thing that will allow them to continue to keep that frustration away or at bay. You can publish a survey. I mean, basically, you can just get out there and really, what I'm talking about is putting content on the internet that will bring people back to you. You can do an interview with other experts in your field or who support your market. So, you know who the experts are. Well, I tell you, if you just called anybody, I mean, even if it was somebody who wrote another book, another financial book, you can leverage off of that. You can go out and maybe there's somebody that's just recently written a financial book. Well, the reality is they're not going to sell very many, because anybody who writes another financial book is probably not going to sell very many. They're going to sell one to their mom. They're going to sell one to their parents. They're going to sell one to their next door neighbor. Maybe they may just have to give those away. But oftentimes what they do is they simply use those books as glorified business cards. Now, it's not to minimize the fact that they wrote the book, because, man, I tell you, it takes a lot to write a good quality book. But what I am telling you is that if you contacted them and said, hey, we're in financial planning together, I wouldn't mind interviewing you and the information in your book, you can now start a great conversation with these people, record the interview, they get promotion for their book, but you now can be in the company of another professional that has perceived value, and all of a sudden it elevates your status as well. You would then podcast the interview, so you could basically record the interview, blog about it, put a podcast together, and put it out there. Write a report on the highlights of a series of interviews that you've done. All of this can be done for free, if not virtually free. And the only cost I'm talking about there is probably really the cost of your hosting account for your website. So it's amazing how people react when you tell them that you're a fee-based financial planner and author of a book, host of a radio show, whatever. It attracts instant credibility. So when you publish anything, you get instant authority. So publishing is powerful. However, there are some risks here. Number one, always remember this: you can't be boring. You need to publish in your own voice. As soon as you start getting into the corporate speak, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, read anything that has been put out by one of the big investment houses or whatever. 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, this stuff is going to be corporate based. It's going to be pretty dry, pretty dull, and it's really not going to attract readers. You want to just simply do it in your own voice. Write as you would speak. If you're not great at writing, well then, you know what? Ask yourself a bunch of questions, or have somebody interview you, and then just simply transcribe that interview, and that becomes a report. And I tell you, the way it's written will probably read better and easier than if you basically sat down and tried to write that report yourself. For the next week or so, this is another tip or a little way you can gain some content or get some information that would be really relevant to the market that you're working on. For the next week or two, ask everyone you come into contact with who you feel is part of your target market, ask them this question: what's your biggest frustration with my industry, and why? So you're talking about the financial industry here, or financial planning, or financial advising, or investment, or whatever you want to call it. Ask them what's their biggest frustration with the industry and why, and then let them talk. Take note of what they say and begin to amass a list of their frustrations. So just record everything they're talking about. Interview more and more people and put another check mark. If somebody says something that somebody else said, put another check mark, and you're going to start to prioritize these things. They'll gladly tell you exactly what their frustrations are because you're not selling them anything. You're just asking an honest question about their feelings, about their opinions, about their frustrations. And believe me, people are really, really willing to talk to you about that. Now, take all of this information and use it as the content for your writings, for your publishing. Write posts like how to tell if your mutual fund fees are too high and what you can do to fix it now. How to tell if your financial planner is using the right software for your financial plan. 8 financial planning frustrations your target market will no longer have to deal with by working with a fee-based financial planner. 6 mistakes your target market make and how to avoid them. It's just very simple. Just simply put content together that will answer their frustrations and basically highlight the frustration, put a solution together, tell why it's a frustration and tell how it's solved, and basically have that come back around to how your financial planning is the solution to that problem. And remember, when I say publish, I mean not just the publishing in the literal sense. I'm talking about blogging. I'm talking about podcasting. I'm talking about writing, interviewing, reports, white papers. All of this is content that can be put on your website. Do video, do whatever it takes. All of that is stuff that you can put on your website. You can send it out in a variety of different fashions to get traffic, to generate traffic for it. And make sure that it's all in the written word or has links that are properly put together for the indexing that takes place. And we can again talk a little bit about that. But basically, what I'm saying is, when you put it together, it's one of the downsides to podcasting is that Google is not able to index audio. So it can't go through the audio and take all the information. So that's why it's oftentimes good if you do a quick podcast or something like that, to take your podcast and transcribe it and then put the transcription notes in the episode. So that's one way of getting the indexing to take place. Now, make sure that whatever you publish is delivering massive value. Okay, I mean, get your best stuff. You need to give your best stuff away. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. No longer can you say, I have the answer and I'm not going to tell you about it until you pay me. People just simply won't do that. You need to, basically build some credibility, build some rapport, build some trust. You need to say, here's the answer to the problems that people in your market are facing. And I have the solution, and here's the solution. Keep delivering valuable content because eventually people will need someone who can help them manage their entire process. That person will be you, because if you're the one that they've built a relationship with, if you're the one that they're continually listening to their information, they're basically what you want them to say is, man, this person is giving away all this awesome material for free. Imagine what he would do if I paid him. Okay, imagine the value that I would get from this guy if I paid him. So, definitely focus on that. It's about giving your best information away for free because, the information that's out on the internet right now, most of it is not complete. And just because the information is there doesn't mean it's right. But if you can give away complete, really, really good, biggest frustrations. I mean, one of the best things you can do is just simply go out and find out what people's biggest frustrations are, and then put a video together that answers their questions and just walks them through. Here's how you do it. Here's what you need to do. It's amazing how that information goes is so powerful. So, step 2 in this process is now do what experts do. So what do experts do? Well, number 1, they publish. So we just talked about publishing, blogging, email, video, podcast, audio, reports, everything we've talked about. But they also speak. So speak at events, speak at seminars. As soon as you get up at the front of an auditorium or in front of a crowd, you're seen as an expert, because anybody who's willing to get up and just simply talk to a crowd, they must be they must be good at what they're saying, or they must have something to say that is worth listening to, because otherwise, it's just that fear we have. And we want to support anybody that's speaking to us, even if somebody's not the greatest speaker in the world, as long as they're not a comedian, because a comedian, if they're not good, well, they'll just get heckled off the stage. But generally, people are quite polite when it comes to that. And if you're up there and you're doing the best job you can, they're going to support you. And it just gives you a tremendous amount of credibility. Do interviews. You'll be asked. You're going to be asked for interviews as a result of your publishing. You'll be asked to comment on certain topics. I did an interview for an article that was run on a newswire, and this goes back a handful of years, that led me to being asked to participate on a radio show that went across Canada. Now, so what ended up happening was literally, I got a phone call that one morning, and they said, "Listen, can I just get a quick quote from you? I'm doing this article on whatever. I can't even remember what it was at the time. I'm doing this article. Can I get your comments on this and your opinion, and just some sort of, really what they were looking for is they were looking for a soundbite." And so I answered their questions, and they said, "Great, thanks." And it was literally maybe a 30-second conversation. Well, then 4:00 that afternoon, I got a phone call from CBC Radio. And they have a show called The Current, and it's a show that happens every morning, goes right across Canada. And they said, "Would you come in and talk to us about this piece that I saw run through the newswire? Would you come in and talk to us about that?" "Absolutely," I said. So basically, went the next morning about 6 a.m., 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Showed up at the studio and did the piece. Now, this led. The piece, literally, I think it was a 7-minute interview, and it was just me talking with the host back and forth about a topic, really just like I'm doing right now, just talking about some information that I was perceived as an expert on. Well, I am an expert in that area, so they had me on, and I just talked about it for 7 minutes while I was driving home. And this is the power of what I'm talking about. While I was driving home from the interview, I got an email. And in the email basically said, "I heard you on the radio, wouldn't mind getting together and having a chat." This is now one of my largest clients that heard me on that 7-minute piece. That's the power of this. Another thing you want to do when it comes to doing what experts do is hang out with other experts. Get on LinkedIn, first of all. If you're not on LinkedIn, as a fee-based financial planner, you need to get on LinkedIn. Get on LinkedIn. Even if you don't know why you're going to be there, I'm going to start telling you. You're going to start to build this through LinkedIn, because it's a very powerful tool. Start on LinkedIn and connect with other experts. So you know who the other experts are. You may come in contact with them. You may meet them here, there, whatever. Anybody that's you've ever interviewed or has interviewed you, or even people that you read their material and you like their writing, or if they're a journalist or something like that. Get on LinkedIn and connect with them. Send out personal LinkedIn connection requests. The other thing you can do is go on to the groups, join a whole series of groups that are, local to you, or that mean something to you, or that are part of your target market, and comment on posts. Post your own topics and build dialogue with other people in the industry. So if you want to, build credibility or get some connections with people in the industry, then go into the financial planning blogs. And then just get on there and start communicating. If you want to build some exposure into other industries, we'll go on those sites and start talking about, topics relating to that. Now, don't be salesy. You don't want to sell anything. You just simply want to communicate. You want to be seen, basically, be seen online. Whenever you post your material, send a note out on LinkedIn, and it will show up on all of your connection streams. So, for example, if you have a blog, whenever you put a blog post, go into LinkedIn and put an announcement that there's a new blog post, put the title, and do that. Other experts will then begin to comment on it. Other media will want to interview you on it. This is another way that the media looks to finding content for writing about, is they'll go on, they'll just sort of surf around the groups and see what's starting to happen. If they see something that kind of interests them, they'll usually contact some of the people that have commented in the information. And if you're already one of their contacts, then all of a sudden it's going to just make it that easier. It simply allows you to become known in your market. It allows the people to just recognize you. Maybe they don't, it's the recognition that you're looking for. Connect with your clients and prospects on LinkedIn. They'll see you connected to other experts, and the snowball begins to grow. So, Once you've got this established, then start connecting in with your existing clients and just send out requests and saying, hey, let's connect on LinkedIn, and make sure they're all personalized, that you use their name, put a little piece of personal, something that would make them remember who you are. Or, hey, I heard you speak at the such and such conference last week. Thought it was great. Thought we should link in together, or something like that. Just make it so that it's not the automated response that comes out of most LinkedIn requests. Now, another thing you want to do is experts. They simply take complicated things and make them simple. And then this is what they do all the time. And then this is probably where most of their content comes from. If you're not confident with your ability to write, then simply find out what the steps are for key events that clients would need to figure out and put a post or video together showing exactly how to do what you need to do. So if it's, signing up for some sort of a government pension, or if it's requesting something from, I don't know, somewhere, if it's for filling out the paperwork for a government, like in Canada, we have home buyer withdrawal plans out of your RSP, and oftentimes people just don't know how to fill out the paperwork. So if you want, just sit down and take a document, put it on the screen, and fill it out with a fictitious client, and then put it out there. Very simple to do. The other thing you want to do is make sure that your message is positive. Okay, I know a lot of people. There are some people that are known for their angry, responses and their negativity and stuff. But, really, I think it makes most sense to be, focus on being aspirational, focus on being, positive in your message, and really just don't be negative. People don't like to associate with negative people. So try and make it positive. So instead of, maybe some examples of maybe the one I gave, what did I give earlier? I think I said, put a post together that talks about how to tell if your financial, what was some of the other ones I said? How to tell if your mutual fund fees are too high. Now, that one maybe is appropriate because most people do feel that their mutual fund fees are too high, and then what you can do to fix it. So that comes out with a positive end. So no, I was wrong. I thought I had talked about a negative one, but I don't think it doesn't seem to be. Don't be out there slamming, why why this is so bad, and what you can do about it is just put a positive spin on it. The other thing that experts do is they sell things. They sell their books, they sell courses, they sell material, they just sell things. So if you've got information that's worth putting together and selling, like your book, like some reports, like whatever it happens to be, then just simply go ahead and do that, and people will see that. And if they see you selling something, all of a sudden you're going to get some credibility for that, and you're going to be seen as a top player in your marketplace. The other great thing is that experts charge high prices. Now, I'm not saying go out there and just charge for no value, because people will see right through that. But it does mean that you can command appropriate prices for what you're offering. If you focus on adding value, people simply expect to pay more for specialists. They expect to pay more for experts. It's incongruent for you to be a discount shop when you're an expert. Experts don't discount things. You don't go to a specialist and expect to pay a lower fee. You go to a specialist and expect to pay a higher fee. You go the specialty route, you're going to pay premium rates. You never want to be the lowest fee. Live by price, die by price. Okay, so if you're not comfortable charging a higher fee at this point, well, just make sure you're not charging a low fee, or make sure you're not giving it away or discounting it, because that just simply devalues what you're doing. You don't have to invent things. Now, this is another important one that I came across that really makes you realize that you don't have to be the innovator of an industry. You don't have to be the one that created the light bulb, that created the wheel, that created you just have to be one that has been able to put together things and simplify things. That's where the simplicity tact comes, where if you can find things that people are finding really, really frustrating, and then you can simplify it for them, well, that simply just shows that you're more of an expert, and it adds to it. You didn't have to create the structure. You didn't have to create a mutual fund. You don't have to be the one who created a stock or bond or a derivative or anything like that. You just have to be the one that knows how to simply educate and get that information across. And that's what experts do. And so if you do things like that, if you start to position yourself as such and you show up at conferences and you put yourself out there as speakers at different conferences and you put yourself out there on the radio, on the internet, on the television. I've done all of that. I've done TV, I've done radio, I've done interviews on the phone for radio shows. I've done going into the studio. I've been in the newspaper. I've been in magazines. I've been you name it. I've sort of been on news wires. I've been on other blogs. All of that just simply adds credibility. And so if you can focus on doing that, it doesn't take much to do. It just takes a little bit of effort, but it definitely will pay off in the end. So, that's important. You want to publish content directly for your market, okay? Make everything market specific. So when I, again, talk about going back and niching down, simply just take a look at your market and make sure everything you do is specifically targeted towards that market. You don't want to go out there with a shotgun approach where you're trying to please everybody. Focus on the individual markets and then write your pieces for that market. So make sure the target market is mentioned in the headlines and the titles and the content that you're putting together. If your market happens to be dentists, then focus on dentists. And if your market happens to be construction workers, then focus on construction workers and speak in their language. It's not that difficult, but just make sure that you're not doing it for everybody. Now, this next one is hugely important because all of what I've talked about sounds like it's a lot of work. And initially, I will be honest with you, it does take a little bit of time and effort to set it up. But all of what I've talked about can be completely automated. You want to automate your authority status. Okay, so here's what I would do. Start with social media. So many people are saying that this is a waste of time, which, is true if you don't get it and are looking for immediate results. Okay, this is something that does have to be nurtured. And if I can't tell you the number of financial advisors that I speak with. They're like, "Oh yeah, I've heard all about. You got to be on Facebook. You got to be on Twitter. It's just a waste of time. Who reads that stuff anyways?" Well, I'll tell you, we get a lot of traffic from that those pieces of those social media pieces on our website, and that traffic converts into meetings. So it does work, but you do have to have a bit of a plan for putting it together, and you have to make it so it's easy, because if it's not easy to do, you're not going to do it. But if you can get out of your own way and get over your preconceived ideas of what social media is, you will begin to see some traction. So in my opinion, you need to be everywhere all the time. And this is easy to automate. So here's what you're going to do first of all. The first thing you want to do is get your blog. Okay, you need content that you can control. And that's what your blog is. That blog is simply content that you control. Regularly post valuable content directed at your target market. You can even create multiple blogs if you want. And if you want, target down the blog so that blog is for that particular market. So you can have maybe 5 different blogs. Each one is for a different target market. You can write the same article, twist each one so that each one is sort of targeting that market. And then boom, you've got the content for that. But let's just keep it simple. Start it with one. So you're going to get your blog. So regularly post valuable content directed at your target market. Post the blog. Post any podcast episodes if you do want to go down the podcasting route, which I would highly recommend because it's a great voice. Videos, screen captures, whatever. That blog is where you're going to put information together that will be yours. You will own that. Now it'll come in handy in a few minutes. Then go over to LinkedIn and set up your account. Link in with people you know or have some sort of relationship with. People will link in with you when they want to kind of stay in touch with what you're doing, okay? You don't have to, LinkedIn is kind of an interesting beast. I used to say, listen, I'm only going to link in with you if I've actually shaken your hand, if I've looked at the whites of your eyes, if I've actually met you. Well, that sort of limited things a bit because for a variety of reasons. Now what I'm doing is I'm starting to link in with people who I'm aware of. And that's proven to be a much better strategy. Every major piece of content that you create should then be posted on the LinkedIn stream. So when you write a blog post, when you put a podcast together, when you put a video, a piece of content, whatever, whenever you post it live, go right over to LinkedIn and post it on the stream there. This will give you the exposure to all of the people that you're now linked in with. Don't overdo it though, okay? So the worst thing you could possibly do, and I've actually unLinkedIn with people, I don't know if that's the term, but I've unLinkedIn with people who have done this. People who have gone and said, okay, I'm going to get involved with Twitter, and then to make it easy for themselves, they're going to stream their Twitter feed through their LinkedIn feed. Well, when people who do that drive me nuts, because most of the content coming through is a waste of time when it comes through that. And when I go to LinkedIn, I don't want to read Twitter posts. I want to read good content, valuable content. And if it's not valuable, I'm probably going to turn you off. So I just basically connect with people who I feel have the ability to put together good content. Now, most people won't put content on LinkedIn, but now when you've connected with them and you are putting good content on LinkedIn, they're going to start to see you coming through that stream on a regular basis. So, just post that really good content that you put together, that you spent some time putting together. Post that, or other interesting articles that are in the marketplace that, again, relate to your target market. Post that on LinkedIn and, share the information that you've found that might be valuable. So you don't even have to create your own content, although it is more valuable to do so. But if you've found some really good content, then you can at least put it on LinkedIn, and that'll give you some exposure there as well. Now, Twitter. Twitter is a different beast altogether. What I would recommend with Twitter is gather great content each week that is directly related to your target market and schedule the tweets to go out for the week. Okay, so you want to do this once for the week in advance. And, it's just a matter of sitting down and taking a look at a whole variety of information. And I think I've talked about how to do this using your Google Reader. Sit down and just, bring all the feeds into your Google Reader and just start scanning through all the content that you think is directly related to your target market. And once you've got that, just start copying all that. Okay, here, there's a piece. And that's the Twitter, a lot of the Twitter content that you're going to be sending out. You're not saying you're sending it out as something you wrote. You're saying, hey, I came across this, thought it would be interesting, thought you might like it, and you can put it out that way. All of a sudden, you're going to start to gain some traction. I have a whole series of Twitter posts that go out every week, and it's amazing the number of people that are retweeting a lot of the content that I put out there. Make sure that some of the tweets that you send out link back to your blog in order to try and get targeted eyes on your content to be able to capture their info for their lead nurturing purposes. So this is the key to it right there. Not everything you want to link back to your website. Okay, or to your blog. But when you post the piece of really valuable content, that becomes part of the content that you're going to send out probably every week. And you're going to sprinkle it out there. So it doesn't happen every day. Maybe it's once or twice a week that goes out. But eventually people are going to come across it. Because remember, Twitter is this constant stream that's just like a conveyor belt. If you miss it, you miss it. And you never see it again. So chances are people aren't going to see, if you've posted that tweet once a week, they're not going to see it show up over and over again, because they probably won't be looking at it when it comes through. But every so often, you're going to get some eyes on it. You're also going to want to set up Google+. Now, Google+ is sort of I think it's that hidden gem of the social media world. I think for our business, it is awesome. And I'm using it more and more now. So use Google+ and post the same content there that you would on LinkedIn. So there's no way of sort of linking the feeds at this point and saying, okay, if I post it on LinkedIn, also post it on Google+. And while you're out surfing around the internet, during the week, because most people are surfing all along during the week, don't be afraid to click on the +1 on topics you find interesting or content you find interesting, because then it will instantly show up on your feed, and people who are following you will or people who want to follow people that are in certain areas or are communicating about a lot of information that they're interested in, which again are your target market, then they'll find you and they'll follow you because they are going to like the content that you're sending out. Then create a Google Plus page. So this is basically a business page. Create a Google Plus page for the posting of your content to your target market. Really what it is, it's like another extension of your blog. So it's another extension where you can post information out. You can't +1 stuff very easily while you're surfing around the internet on that blog, but you can post out there your content. So yeah, definitely take advantage of Google Plus and just start to use it on a more regular basis. And really all I'm saying is if you see something that's appropriate for your target market, then go into your Google Plus page and then say, okay, I found this content, link to it, post it, and then basically share it. YouTube. Now, YouTube is great because it's just another one of those things. Now, when YouTube is owned by Google, so you can be assured that its criteria and information gets indexed really quite efficiently. So if you can post on YouTube, even better. Now, I'm not saying go out there and do wacky videos and stuff like that. But you can, if you want to do some videos, and video is an area you want to explore, definitely put it on there. The other thing you can do is if you do audio presentations, just simply create a PowerPoint slide that sort of speaks to the content and turn it into an MP4 or a video file with your audio that's streaming over top of it, and then post it. People will just simply go on, they'll find the content, and they'll just listen to it. If they've got a nice picture of you to look at, or if you want, you can just put some basic pictures on a slideshow in the background. That works as well. So take advantage of YouTube. All of this now can be automated or delegated once it's set up and will generate targeted traffic to your site. All of this, the great thing about this is that you can automate most of it, and whatever you can't automate, you can pretty much delegate. So the only thing that I'm doing right now really is I'm writing my own content. I do think it's important to have that content come from your own voice, but then the getting it out there and the sourcing out other content that's relevant to my target market, you can automate all that. You can and you can get that delegated as well. So it's very easy to do. That's where virtual assistants come in hugely handy. So it's definitely something you want to take advantage of. Now, Google Analytics, okay? When you have your website, you want to install Google Analytics on your website. If you've followed the procedure that I've told you about setting up the hosting account, setting up your 5-minute install with WordPress, just simply add Google Analytics onto that site. And it's very easy to do. And, when you're speaking with somebody on the phone at the Bluehost site, they'll just tell you exactly where to copy and paste it. So it's very simple to do. Now, once you've got Google Analytics on your site, you're going to use the keyword generator tool, okay? Because what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, what keywords, if you were going to the internet and you wanted to search for yourself and you wanted to stumble across you, what would you have to have searched for? And those are the keywords you want to be found for. So, for example, maybe it's financial planning, maybe it's financial advisor. Now, keep in mind, though, that financial planning is probably a very difficult word to be ranked for. People are paying big bucks to be found for financial planning. They're paying big bucks to have their sites completely optimized for those particular keywords. But what you can use the keyword generator tool for, and just go to Google and Google the term keyword generator tool, and you'll come up with videos on how to use it and all that sort of stuff. Use the keyword generator tool to find other words similar to financial planning or whatever the keyword is that you really want that have a lower difficulty for ranking for, and then begin to write content on those topics. So, for example, you could start wanting to be found for retirement income options. Okay, searching for similar keywords generated to the terms when to retire. This had a high search volume, but a low difficulty of ranking for this term. So when I went into the keyword tool and I put in when to retire, it said, yeah, lots of people are typing that in, but not very many people are searching are trying to optimize for that. So guess what? You can now go and write a post or an article or put a video together or something titled When to Retire, and make it as good as you can. Fill it with great content, okay? So that's kind of how you do it. Then once you've got that article written, tweet out the article, Google Plus it, LinkedIn it. Okay, so go in and post it on LinkedIn, and you can see how it just starts to put more eyeballs on your content that will bring it back to your site. Start a discussion on LinkedIn called When to Retire, or ask a question. When do you think the best time to retire is? What do people need to look at? And start to get some feedback from that. Then when the comments start coming in, put in the comments that this topic has a lot to do with a blog post you wrote called When to Retire, and then link back to that post. And people, it may be another way that people could say, hey, that was an interesting comment. I'm going to go check out that post. If you're serious about being seen as an authority in your market, you need to be doing all of what I've just talked about. The nice thing is that it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of money, and you can automate and delegate virtually all of it so you can get back to doing what you do best, which is financial planning. So get out there and build yourself a better business.
You've been listening to Scott E. Plaskett, a certified financial planner and industry veteran in the world of fee-based financial planning. Want free resources to help you build a better fee-based financial planning firm? Visit ilovefinancialplanning.com right now to register for Scott's Inner Circle email list, where you'll get front-of-the-line updates on the latest resources that are driving profits to Scott's fee-based financial planning practice. All of the resources are pulled directly from the highly acclaimed Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery Academy. Go now to ilovefinancialplanning.com. Build a better business and make more money with your fee-based financial planning practice today.